Hey everybody, Chell here with Prismatic Powders, and welcome to today's video. Now in this video we're going to give you 3 areas to focus on that will help you achieve the best possible results when you're powder coating. I think this will be a helpful video for those who are newer to powder coating or maybe struggling with particular areas of the process, or possibly even advanced powder coaters who've simply developed some bad habits. Now before we get started, click those like and subscribe buttons. It really helps the channel, and hit that bell icon if you want to get notified each time we upload a new video. Now, the powder coating process is basically 3 steps. You have part preparation, application, and curing. So these are going to be the areas that we will break down. So let's begin with part preparation. Now, part prep is incredibly important, and it's generally summarized by 2 crucial elements. You have your cleaning / degreasing, and you have sandblasting. Now, with the exception of powder coating over old powder coating, we do have a separate video for that, you need to have a surface that is bare metal. All paint and corrosion has got to come off. Now, apart from that, you've also got to get oils and grease off your parts. So try to get oils and grease off before you blast so that you don't risk contaminating your blast media, because that's only going to give you problems down the road. So how are you going to do it? Well, small parts can be soaked in acetone or your preferred degreaser, but if you have large parts that are too big to soak, you can bake off the oils in an oven, or you can take a scouring pad along with acetone or your choice of degreaser, and you can scrub the parts. Just make sure you wear the proper PPE when you're doing so. Now, if you have parts that can be disassembled, go ahead and disassemble them, since you will expose and then more easily clean the areas where there may be trapped oils. Now, when it comes to blasting, all parts should have at least an etched surface, but at best a blast profile. And whether you're hitting them with a big sandblaster and some coarse garnet sand, or using a small blast cabinets with finer media for those small and delicate parts, blasting can help with smoothing out some minor imperfections in the material. It'll knock off surface corrosion or old finishes, but equally as important, this is necessary for getting the right adhesion and overall durability from the coating. And I can tell you from years of experience that there's a world of difference between trying to sandblast powder from a surface that has a blast profile and one that doesn't. And the point is that powder really adheres well to a clean surface that has a nice, aggressive blast profile. So make sure you're blasting your parts. Now, it is worth mentioning that depending on the parts and materials you're dealing with, you may need to take some extra steps in the prep process, such as outgassing if you've got parts that are made of cast metals. Now, the next area we want to focus on is application, particularly gun settings and setup for application. Now, I want to keep this simple because this does vary depending on the gun that you're using, so this is more like principles to follow. And I would summarize it as adapt and observe. You need to adjust your gun settings according to how you spray. And do take note that your spraying technique, it's going to vary based upon the parts and the materials that you are spraying. So you need to adapt those settings. So for example, imagine you've just finished spraying a small steel gate. Now you have a rack of small aluminum boxes that need to be coated inside and out. The settings that you used for the gate will likely not be ideal to efficiently coat the boxes, because now you have a change in material, you have a change in shape, and you're probably going to adjust your voltage and your air powder mixture. And you need to coat the inside of those boxes, so your air and powder mixture will likely need to be adjusted again to get the coverage that you need and get all those little tight spaces and angles. And this is probably the most important part, the observation. you need to observe how the gun is spraying and how the powder is building on the parts. This is an area where experienced powder coaters, they make it look easy, but unfortunately, you just have to learn through the experience. And after some time, you'll be able to read the powder and know whether it's laying on too heavy or too light. You'll also know when you're just wasting time over and over an area, just trying to get powder to stick. The visual cues are going to be what helps you know when it's time to stop and make adjustments. Now the point here is that there's no simple one and done setting. You need to adapt. Now another part to this is you should also select the right tip or nozzle for your gun and for the project. Now there are many different types of nozzles out there, and even the cheapest guns offer at least a couple different options, so familiarize yourself with what is available for your gun and put it to proper use. For example, conical tips are often the best choice for spraying metallics because they help disperse the metallic flake. And we did do a previous video on that subject, so we'll link to that if you want a more in-depth look at nozzle types and what they do. All right, so let's move on to the last area to cover, and that is curing. Now, you always want to follow the cure schedule for the powder that you're using. Now, the cure schedule is simply the time that the powder-coated parts are at temperature. Now, you wouldn't think that curing parts would be that big of a problem because it's pretty simple, but believe it or not, curing properly is often the step that gets neglected the most, and most often, under-curing is the problem. I feel like messing up on curing is a lot like tripping on your shoelaces right before the finish line. You've got all this time and effort in, it's just not the right time to get lazy. So don't get lazy about curing, follow that cure schedule. And remember, you can start your cure timer when your part reaches temperature, not when you put your parts in the oven. All you need to cure properly is an oven, an IR thermometer, and we do have a link below for that, and then you need some sort of timer. Now, I know this all sounds very simple, but it really is that simple. You just need to give these areas the time and attention they deserve. Don't cut corners, and you will have great results. So that is going to do it for this video. I thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.